Good evening, everybody. I am Minister Marcus, and welcome to the Maximize Your Life Bible Study. I come on every Wednesday night. For those of you who can't make it to church, I give you a little 20-minute lesson to give you some things to think about that encourage your faith and life lessons, different things that we can use from a biblical perspective and put it in practice in our lives. And so tonight we are in First Kings. It's going to be the second lesson, and tonight is going to be the last lesson until August. As you know, I normally take 2 months out of the year. That's one of the summer months, and also December to really just spend time with my family, with my kids, and do things like that, family time. And so this is going to be the last lesson. But when we do start back in August, the format is going to be a little bit different, so I want you guys to be on the lookout for that. Also, subscribe to the YouTube channel, TGM Television. I will be uploading some things periodically during the week just to encourage you. So, man, I don't want you to miss that, and you don't want to miss that either. So, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, visit our website, www.thegodmovement.com. But I don't want to take up too much time, but we're going right to the word tonight. First Kings chapter 8. And I am going to read a few verses, and we're going to skip down some verses too. Let me put on my spectacles. First Kings chapter 8. We're going to start at verse 1. Then Solomon assembled the elders of Israel and all the heads of the tribes, the leaders of the fathers' households of the sons of Israel, to King Solomon in Jerusalem, to bring up the ark of the covenant of the Lord from the city of David, which is Zion. So he's bringing the ark of the covenant from the city of Zion, where David had it in the temple. All the men of Israel assembled themselves to King Solomon at the feast in the month Ethanim, which is the 7th month. Then all the elders of Israel came, and the priests took up the ark. They brought up the ark of the Lord and the tent of meeting and all the holy utensils which were in the tent, and the priests and the Levites brought them up. All right, now we're going to skip down to verse number 9. There was nothing in the ark except the 2 tablets of stone which Moses put there at Horeb, where the Lord made a covenant with the sons of Israel when they came out of the land of Egypt. It happened that when the priest came from the holy place, the cloud filled the house of the Lord, so that the priest could not stand to minister because of the cloud, for the glory of the Lord filled the house of the Lord. All right, and so tonight I got three things. Three things. We are still talking about Solomon, as you know. Solomon, the last lesson that we discussed, Solomon was building the temple or the tabernacle of God. It is the fixed location. It was not a temple. It wasn't a temple like it was with King David. David had the temple set up. He had not built an actual place, a building where they could call it temple, but it was like a giant tent that they would carry around. And so David had brought the ark and put it in the tent in Zion. And so what we pick up now, Solomon has built the temple. Solomon has built the palace. He has actual structures where he has built them up. And if you read as the story goes, here in the 8th chapter, Solomon, they're celebrating the Festival of Shelters. And it's one of the 3 feasts that God had the nation of Israel to celebrate. And at this Festival of Shelters was a yearly celebration that lasted 7 days and served as a reminder to the nation of Israel of how they lived in tents when they first left Egypt. And so this was a yearly celebration in the 7th month as a reminder of how when they first came out of Egypt that they lived in tents. And I want to point out that this nation at this point in the story, at this point in the Bible, this is not the same generation that came out of Egypt, but it was years ago, but it was something that they celebrated every year as a reminder of how they lived in tents when they first left Egypt. And I'm going to pause right there because reminders to me are important. And anytime God has you doing something as a reminder, it's like we do. Most churches do it on the first Sunday, but he says, as often as you do this, what? In remembrance of me. It's a reminder because reminders are important. They serve as markers in your mind about specific events. And so I want to point that out, that this generation of Israel didn't have the memory, but they were to draw from the celebration or the reminder about the power of God. And I want to point out that sometimes we forget that we have a reminder that's called the Bible. This is what the Bible is designed to do for you. Even though you may not have the same experiences that the people in the Bible had, the Bible is designed to serve as a reminder to you about the power of God. And I think reminders are important because sometimes reminders can help increase your faith during difficulty. Have you ever had something that you got, right? Like I have these things that I stick on my refrigerator. And what they do is they're designed to remind me of specific times when I took the kids out, when I took a trip. And sometimes I'll go and I'll start to reminisce. And this is what the Bible is designed to do. It's designed to increase your faith during times of difficulty and serve a reminder to you that God is closer than you think, that God has more power than what it seems like in your life. It gives you something to draw strength from. The Bible is designed to give you the reminder so that you combat the negative thoughts that come to your mind, that you don't allow the situation and your circumstance to overwhelm your mind with negativity, but you can pick up your reminder and it'll remind you that you serve a God who is able to do amazing things in your life. And this is what the Bible is designed. The Bible is your reminder to continue to trust God as you go through different areas, ages, and stages in your life. And so what they would do, they celebrate it every year. They celebrate it in the 7th month every year. And every year when they celebrate, they would be able to see how far God had brought them. I think partially, this is just me. The Bible don't say this, but this is just me. I think that God had them to celebrate this at just to show them how far they would come every single year, how they would look back and celebrate and remember how God took them from being slaves to being free, how he took them from nothing and made them something. And I tell people this all the time. It's important that you celebrate your growth. It's important that you celebrate your progress. Some people can't feel me on that because they still in the same place that they were. But for those of you who are trying to move your life forward, who are trying to grow and progress, I believe that it's important to celebrate the growth. Every year that they celebrated this, they would look back and say, we used to live in tents, but now we live in houses. We used to have to go from place to place. Now we have a place to call our own. And I don't know about you, but for me, that's an encouragement because sometimes I have to take the time to look back, not to stay in the past, but to celebrate how far God has brought me in my life. And so I want to stress that to you, that takes some time, right, to look back, not to get mad about the past, not to live in the past, not to dwell in the past, but to remind yourself of how far God has brought you. I say it like this: I celebrate every inch. You got to learn to celebrate every inch of progress, every inch of growth. Every inch, every step that you move forward, celebrate it. And this is what they did. Every year they would celebrate. And when they celebrate, I can just imagine, right? Every year when I look back on the commitment that I made to God, and I see every year how God has steadily progressed my life. And if you would look back sometimes and see how far God has brought you, sometimes just looking back will keep you from complaining. Sometimes just looking back and reflecting on where you used to be, how you used to think, how you used to act, how immature you used to be, and then you see where you are now, it'll stop you from complaining. It'll stop you from being negative. It'll stop you from doing some of those things, right? Complaining. It'll stop you when you look back. And this is one of the reasons I believe that God had them to do this, that every year I want you to look back and see that you used to be one place, but now you in a new place. And thank God for, look, that's just me right there. That's just me. I thank God for not being where I used to be. This is how they say it at church. This is how they say it at church. I may not be what some people think I ought to be, but I'm thankful that I'm not where I used to be. And maybe you can that resonates with you tonight, that you can say the same thing, that man, when I look back, I see I'm not who I was. I don't act the way that I used to act. I don't think the way that I used to think. I don't handle situations the way that I used to handle them. But it's sometimes taking that second to look back and celebrate how far you have come. And so what he does is He's celebrating the Feast of Shelters. And I want to point this out to you because I'm sure some of you probably didn't catch this. But where we left off in the last lesson, Solomon had built the temple and he finished the tabernacle in the 8th month. But here he's celebrating bringing the Ark of the Covenant into the tabernacle in the 7th month. What does that mean? That means that when he got done building the tabernacle for God, he didn't immediately put the Ark in there. He waited. Get it? He waited for the time to align with the celebration so that the installation of the ark would have more meaning. Come on, I want you to hear me when I say that. He waited because what? Timing is everything. I want you to say that. Timing is everything. And when the timing came together, he brought the ark in because it gave it more meaning. Have you ever done this? Have you ever been at a surprise party, right? And the person gets to the door before they open the door, everybody else surprised. It kills the point of a surprise party, what you're supposed to surprise the person when they come in. But sometimes you don't sometimes people don't understand that timing is everything, and some things make a bigger impact if you can get the timing right. And so when I read things like this, that he waits 11 months before he brings the Ark of the Covenant into the tabernacle, it shows how thoughtful he is. And I don't know about you, but timing shows thoughtfulness. It shows that you were intentional. It shows you that you put thought into a thing instead of just throwing it together. And this is one of the things I can celebrate about this specific thing, because Solomon shares this characteristic of God, that God is a God of timing. I want you to hear me when I say that. God is a God of timing, that God is calculated, that God is thoughtful, and that he does everything at the right time. And I don't know about you, but I have learned to be thankful that God is a God who is thoughtful, who is intentional. He doesn't just throw the events of your life together, but he allows them to come together so that everything can happen at the right time. And this is what one of the scriptures say, that the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. That means it's not just thrown together. And I want that to encourage you tonight as you listening, because sometimes we think that the events and the circumstances and situations in our lives seem to just be chaotic for no reason. But if you read stories like the story of David, who we just got done reading last month, if you read the stories like the stories of Moses, that over time you start to see that the things that look like they had no significance, over time, everything starts to come together at the right time. The first 40 years of Moses' life was spent as an Egyptian. The second 40 years of Moses' life was spent as a shepherd. The last 40 years of Moses' life, that's when the first 40 and the second 40 came together, because God brought his life at the right time, and he had ordered every single step so that when the time was right, the experience was there, the character was there. I want you to say this to yourself. Say, God has ordered my life. And even though it seems like things are out of order, that God has every step ordered. He has put your life in order, though you may not understand it all of the time. And so I like that Solomon is intentional. He's thoughtful. He could have done it at any time, but he waited so that the celebration would align with what he was trying to do. And I like that. I love that. I love that he waits until they reflect on the time when they didn't have a place, a permanent place to live, and he brings the ark when God has now a fixed place to live. It just means something when you get, come on, the timing right. Aren't you thankful? I don't know about you, but I'm very thankful that God brought some people in my life, not at just any time, but at the, come on, the perfect time. And I want you to hear me when I say this, that God has a specific time for everything to happen in your life. It's not just by coincidence, but God is thoughtful, God is strategic, and God is intentional. And I like that Solomon shares this with God. He brings the Ark of the Covenant at the right time. And look, I'm almost finished. But what I love about this is that what he's doing at this is he's dedicating the temple. He brings the Ark of the Covenant to the tabernacle because he's dedicating the temple. And when I see this word dedicated, it says to me, set aside just for God. He has set aside a certain time. He has set aside a certain period. The celebration, everything was intentional. But when I think of dedicated, I think of set aside just for something specific. And I want to ask you this question when we talk about this word dedicated. How much of your time, how much of your energy, how much of your effort have you dedicated to God? How much time, how much of your energy, and how much of your effort have you dedicated to God? How much have you dedicated to the relationships that matter most in your life? When I think of this word dedicated, I think of how serious you are. Your level of dedication will show how serious you are about a thing. And I think that this is significant because a lot of times people say that they're serious about something. They say that something matters to them, but it doesn't matter enough to dedicate to it. And I have to ask people, young people all the time, are you really dedicated to being successful? Are you really dedicated to having a good career? Are you really dedicated to being a good Christian? Are you really dedicated? And when they say yes, my follow-up question to that is, how do your actions show your level of dedication? Because your actions showing your level of dedication shows how serious you are about a thing. What if God is waiting for you to become dedicated to the important things in your life before he releases the blessing on your life? Because I believe that your level of blessing is determined by your level of dedication. What if I told you that the height of your blessing was dependent upon the depth of your yeah, you got it. What if I told you that the height of your blessing was determined by the depth of your dedication? What if I told you that the height of your blessing is determined by the depth of your dedication? It goes together. And sometimes you're waiting for God to do some things in your life, and God is sitting back saying, I'm waiting for you to show me that you're dedicated to it before I release the blessing. You can't have a lot of blessing with a little bit of dedication. And I want somebody to understand that your level of dedication determines your level of blessing. And maybe tonight is just for you to hear this, that God wants you to be dedicated to it. Your marriage, dedicate to it. Your career, dedicate to it. Being in school, dedicate to it. Your studies, dedicate to it. I don't know who this is for, but whatever it is that you want to see the progress in your life come, I dare you to dedicate to it. When you start dedicating to it, that's when you see God will start to open up some things for you, and God will start to create some ways for you, and God will start to rain down some blessings in it. When you learn that you got to be dedicated, come on, say, I got to be dedicated. You got to be dedicated if you want to see the results that you want to see. If you want to get closer to God, you got to dedicate time. If you want to get better at anything, you got to dedicate the time, the energy, and the effort. Come on, say, I got to be dedicated. Be dedicated. All right. And with that, guys, that's all I have for you tonight. I'm about at 18 minutes. I hope something that I said to you tonight was an encouragement or something that gave you a different perspective. Listen, guys, I will not be here on Wednesday night, but I am going to be uploading various things for our YouTube channel to keep you engaged, to keep you encouraged, to keep you walking closer with God. I definitely want you to stay tuned for August. I'm coming back with a podcast. Our Wednesday night is just not going to be Bible studies anymore, but they're going to be co-discussions about various things about life, and so I want to see how I can help you guys to grow, how I can help you guys to flourish in your marriages and your finances and your walk with God and your relationships with your kids. And I'm gonna be bringing on various people. So guys, stay tuned to that. That's what I have coming up in August. But take this time in the summer to really spend time with your family. Enjoy your family. Be good family men, good family women. Be good husbands, be good wives, be good mothers, be good fathers. You guys have a blessed one, and I will see you guys in August. I love you guys so much. Once again, tune into our website. Click to follow. Go and look up our website. Pull up our website, www.thegodmovement.com, and you can definitely stay connected to our ministry that way. Or you can subscribe right here on our YouTube channel. That's TGM Television. Once again, that's TGM Television. So you guys, I love you guys. Y'all be blessed, and I will see y'all next time.